Okay, we finished talking shit about all of our listeners before hitting record.
And our guests.
Yeah. And
What's
you
the number?
personally, the person listening. I could just say everyone's name. We only have like what 50.
Matt, what's the number?
Oh yeah. Let me. I think it's
I
89,
think
but
it's
now
89 or 90, yeah.
yeah, it's not 90 was the last one I think. But yeah, now I'll sit here and count. I actually put the number on the new list, but I'm sitting here with the old list like an idiot.
Oh.
199, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93.
I have actually got access to the new list. I
92,
should just look at that.
91.
Can we just make
90.
the theme song just make you singing numbers backwards?
Yes.
So the theme song gets longer every week.
Yeah.
89 is correct.
Okay.
100 tins of movies on the wall. 100 tins of movies.
Oh, no,
Oh my God, this should have been all that.
99.
Don't worry, Matt. I've got the opening ready for this episode.
Oh, that was going to be the new theme song. It was going to go on for like 10 minutes.
Ho, ho, ho! In at number 89 on the nice list, it's a very special Christmas episode of Films and Filth.
That's right. Merry Christmas. Give me your Christmas. Give me your Christmas. Sorry, it just comes out of me. It's a 5-timer. It's like a 10-timer by this point.
If you want to make sure you're on the
flip-flop.
nice list, then throw a Bible at a man's head at a Christmas Eve service.
Okay, yeah, we can start with the fun stuff. Yes, it is Films and Filth. This is Cicano Podcasting. This is The Hunt.
This
It's
is
on
Hang 10.
Hanging 10 with The Hunt. That's Hang 10 there. This is Matt Commages here.
No, that was a joke on the Danish spelling of this film's name.
Oh, okay. I would just
Yeah,
change your name.
You didn't call me Hang 10. That's a
said
cool
this
nickname
is.
to have.
You said this is, so I was like, yeah.
Yo, what's up, babe? People call me Hang 10 because I'm so tight.
What's up? I'm Hang 11.
Okay, there we go. We can go with his names today. I mean, maybe I'll address one of you by a different name at some point in this podcast. But yeah, it is funny.
I won't respond. Fuck you.
It is fun that we're right at the cusp of Christmas and we have a new Christmas classic to
Yep.
to get in our craw, I guess. And yeah, I think it's come out many times on the podcast. For Luke and myself in particular, this is like a straight up horror movie. As Luke and I teach small children, but we're not quite as in depth as this guy. Like we have front staff that takes care of toilet time. We only have them for like an hour. It's not like all day every day. So
the thing is, you guys teach in a country where that's kind of xenophobic, and you're foreigners teaching in that country with a justice system that is guilty until proven innocent. So this has to be at least kind of harrowing on an existential level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Should we tell the listeners what the fuck we're talking about?
Yeah, you can roll that out if you want.
We are watching 2012's The Hunt, starring Mads Mikkelsen, directed by someone Vinterberg. I forgot his first name. It's a Danish.
Like 3,000 movies called The Hunt, so all that information.
Yeah, that's why it's better to call it Hangten or Jangten, or however you pronounce it.
Jangten, okay. We'll call it Jangten.
Because yeah, this is a Scandi drama. I keep saying Danish. I don't actually know if that's correct.
It is Danish.
Okay, yeah, from the Viking part of the world.
It's set in Denmark. It seems like maybe the money came from other countries. Like as a production, it might be like Swedish too. But yeah, we're gonna call it Danish because it's a Danish village. So
yes, film about kindergarten teacher wrongfully accused of assaulting a student.
So basically, yesterday, Matt, I was talking about doing another podcast, and he said, "Man, yeah, I watched about an hour of The Hunt, and I had to take a break because it was too heavy." And I said, "I'm pretty sure I'm going to like this movie." And then what happened was I sat down to watch it, and I could not stop. And this is my favorite movie of either of the lists so far.
Wow. Okay.
This is some Mark shit right here.
This is
that's a
desperate
statement.
People, angry,
this is in
sad.
That interesting conversation. This film is very, very good. I don't like it.
I totally understand that.
Okay, I have a slightly less virulent take of this film is very good. I'll never watch it again. Mark, is this one of your new Christmas classics?
That's more like where I'm at. Yeah.
I am going. There are friends of mine who are on tour, and when they come back, I'm going to make them watch this. I'm going to watch it again
for Christmas.
This is, keep in mind, not everyone. I'm not going to just go around to everyone I know and make them watch this, but a couple of people. Yeah.
As Mark was saying, I did take a break to watch episode 3 of Chernobyl, as one does. So
I'm afraid to watch that at all. I don't want to watch people melt.
Oh, I really like Chernobyl.
That's
the kind of grim I like, because it's so like existential and borderline supernatural. Whereas this is the kind of grim I don't like because it's so real.
Yeah,
and I know Chernobyl is literally more real, but like I don't think I'm likely to encounter a nuclear disaster anytime soon.
You're not that far away from one.
But I might encounter, just horrific acts of human foolishness.
I think I've spent a lot more time being afraid of nuclear annihilation than I have been afraid of being accused of assaulting a child. I guess this is the thing.
You've never been in a classroom full of toddlers and one of them's asked you to draw an anime character, and then you scroll down past the first page and have to quickly scroll back up. Because
no,
you
I have not
just
done
showed
that.
them hardcore pornography.
Well, 99% of anime is hardcore pornography, but they'll figure that out soon enough. They don't know already.
Do that so soon.
I don't know. Rule 34 Ampamon.
Oh, God, it's out there.
It's out there. No,
all right, well, let's play the game. How many results?
I agree to the terms of service.
Is a superhero in Japan with a red bean head, and he saves the children of Japan by letting them eat his head. That sounds bad.
Only 2 pages.
Okay, well, there's 2 answers.
Wow.
One for the character and one for the franchise.
Oh my God. Oh my God. There's one where he has a baguette for a dick, and it is so funny.
Anyway, what was I gonna say? That actually just erased whatever I was gonna say. There was Ampamon.
You know what's depressing is I was expecting a lot of humorous ones of Anpan-Man specifically.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, I don't think they're a joke, of the female characters, which is like, come on.
It's always just sad.
I'm glad I'm not 34. Making a search, I guess. I'm not searching this on my computer.
I forgot to even go into private mode for that. That's where my brain is.
Well, did you go into I made a summary mode for this one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I made a summary.
I guess do that before we talk about the specifics of the punching, because everybody wants to do that.
Yeah, of course. Lucas is a kindergarten teacher living in a small Danish town with his dog, Fanny. He's struggling with his recent divorce, including custody of his son, Marcus, but all the kids love him and adults like him a lot too. But his best friend's daughter, Clara, makes accusations about him without really understanding what she's saying. Before long, all the adults, including Clara's family, have turned against him. His girlfriend doesn't believe him, which destroys his relationship, and other children have started making accusations about him too. Marcus comes into town just as Lucas is arrested, and he makes it a point to visit Clara's family to try and fist fight everyone. Meanwhile, Lucas is released because all the children's stories involve a basement that he doesn't actually have. Even though things are cleared up legally, someone throws a rock through his window and Fanny later turns up dead. And then Lucas is unable to buy groceries without physically destroying a butcher and fighting several employees at a store that does not want his business. Lucas then goes to Christmas Eve service and can't make it very long without physically assaulting Clara's father, Theo, who at this point knows that he was probably wrong. After Clara basically confesses to making it all up, Theo brings some food and wine to Lucas as a peace offering, which he reluctantly accepts. A year later, all seems to be well, and everyone seems to like Lucas again. Marcus is going on his first hunt as a rite of passage, but someone fires at Lucas, barely missing his head. Lucas can't see who it is due to the glare of the sun, and neither do we, but they reload and disappear into the forest. It might be Theo. Should I not have said Theo? Oh well.
I don't know. I'm not Danish. I got Dutch blood. Apparently, I could do like I got
Dutch blood. What's up?
I got all my hands right now. I will say this is one where I kind of spoiled just so I could hold on to the narrative thread properly. But Yeah, the shot at the end was still a nice jump scare, even though I knew it was coming. That was a well done jump scare. I just jumped a little bit in my chair when that happened. So
I was glad I didn't know, because I was genuinely, obviously genuinely stressed out with what's actually going to happen.
Yeah. Well, there are two ways of going about it. So there's my way and the right way.
I had the wrong way, which is that I was too stressed out, so I deliberately spoiled myself, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to sit through the film.
Word. So, yeah, for me, I understood why I enjoyed this and what would have made me not enjoy it, and definitely knowing that the guy didn't molest any kids was a huge relief. I think that if it was ambiguous, it would have been very upsetting. And
yeah, that
also,
puts us in a Kafka land more, right? Than oh my god, this is disturbing land. Which Kafka's disturbing, it's a different kind of disturbing.
And if this had been made, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 6 years later, and it had anything to do with the discussion about cancel culture or Me Too, then it probably would have ruined it. Like, this needed to.
Yeah, this is it's interesting, because when you hear the premise of this film, I kind of think like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, it's handled so well.
It's almost a miracle how well it's handled. It feels like it would be
because
impossible to do that now.
It doesn't really. And I was reading some Reddit threads just because I happened to find them when I was sort of looking for critical reviews, and some people were saying like, what they love about this film is that you can't really hate any party in this story. But on the other hand, like, some people were saying, oh, I absolutely do hate everyone in this village. You can close. Kind of go both ways.
It's like I almost hated Clara, but I just sort of couldn't.
Yeah,
because like, I just feel like she's going to grow up to. She's going to grow up to know what happened. Eventually, she's going to realize however this turns out, she's going to know something, and it's going to haunt her forever. Because I know if any of this stuff had happened when I was a kid, I would just never be able to sleep again.
Yeah, I wake up upset because, like, I said something mean to another kid when I was younger. If I had memories like this that were waking me up in the middle of the night, like,
yeah, for real.
If you would cause supermarket bras with grown-ass men.
I mean, I did call supermarket bras with grown-ass men, but for different reasons. I worked at the supermarket.
I would sleep very soundly if I'd, like, what was it? Sucker headbutted a butcher so I could just buy some pork chops and just said, I'm entitled to buy pork chops, and then bought the pork chops. I would sleep very well after that, except I probably would be very wounded, but
Mark, would you like this movie? It didn't have the church beatdown.
If it wasn't for the violence and the part where Marcus is trying to slap a guy who's like 6 feet tall, I probably would not have liked it as much.
I think the film is well paced, and if it hadn't had those kind of moments, it wouldn't be as well paced, because it has danger of being very slow, right? Like, this is an hour and 55 minutes of a man being very sad. So, like, there's a lot of potential for it to not be a fun watch. But it seems like that, and little outbursts and moments that keep it alive, I think.
It feels kind of adjacent to the 4th Rambo movie, where that sort of Rambo is sad, and then Rambo pops off and kills a bunch of people, and then Rambo goes back to being sad.
My favorite thing about the 4th Rambo movie is that the moral of the story is that violence is good. There's like a character in it who's like a priest who abhors violence, and his big character moment is at the end he beats a man to death with a rock, and that's him learning his lesson about the way of the world.
I was thinking of Cronenberg's A History of Violence, which has violence as something that just erupts sometimes, which I think is kind of what happens in this movie.
Well, Mads Mikkelsen's physique is a lot like Viggo Mortensen in that film. How he just feels
that might be one of my. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, one of my first notes was like, he is giving off Clark Kent vibes. He looks impossibly like tall and strong.
I think what it is that he's surrounded by sort of, Scandi drama TV actors, and here's Hollywood superstar Mads Mikkelsen amongst them.
Was he a Hollywood superstar at this point?
Or he'd already been in Casino Royale.
That's true.
That's pretty much put him on the map in the English speaking world.
Even if he wasn't when he was filming, when we're watching, he is.
I mean,
and there's some actors you see them and it's like, that's not a mere mortal. That's a superstar.
I mean, I just saw him as world's okayest dad from Death Stranding.
Yep, I'm having a look at his
BB?
Career before this, which he let's see, a Norse warrior in Valhalla Rising, a self-sacrificing leader, the King's Guard and Clash of the Titans. I mean, these aren't the giant things we know him for.
I mean, I would have seen Clash of the Titans in theater, but I don't remember Mads Mikkelsen even being in it.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he wouldn't have stuck out before it. So this is kind of, I think, the pivot point where he was not just the James Bond villain for English audiences. Okay, Hannibal starts in 2013, a year after this. So I think that's what really got him on everyone's.
That's when people started wanting to bang him.
Right.
I mean, I'm wanting to bang him from watching this.
Of course, he's in
you got a good
Doctor
look
Strange,
at his butt.
but you barely notice.
Yeah.
I mean, he is very good in that. It's just he's playing a really dull Marvel villain.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. I don't actually remember. Oh God, he ended up.
That was
the Fantastic Beasts movies.
The bit I remember. Yeah. He's like the third actor they got to play Grindelwald because they kept. Well, first they had a really good Colin Farrell, whichever one it was. I think it's Colin Farrell or one of the Collins. Put in a really good performance, but that was just him in disguise. Then they switched to Johnny Depp, who put in a terrible performance, and then
they needed to get rid
Johnny
of
Depp was kind of cancelled for a while there. And now then they got Mads Mikkelsen in.
What was the final?
Who they should have just had all along.
On the really. What
Johnny Depp was found guilty in a British court, found innocent in an American court, and the court of public opinion seems to be that like people like him more than they like Amber Heard, so they've decided to believe he's innocent.
Oh, yeah, I personally
it sounds
feel like
actually they were it was a very toxic relationship and they were both shitty to each other. Might be the closest thing to a truth, but
that's my take on it. Is it feels like this? It's like the revenge movie of relationships where they just brought out the worst in each other and became worse and worse together. And
yeah, I'm just saying they gone girled each other, right?
Yeah, maybe.
That's the impression I had. Okay, anyway, back to Mads, whose personal life doesn't seem to have anything horrible, at least on the wiki I'm looking at. So, yay.
Good.
Yeah, it would be really awkward if he came out as a wrong one at this point.
Yeah.
After this film.
he's been married since 2000. Okay, there's no skinny on him on the wiki at least. Okay. Because usually they got at least like these days there is that one like, this one time. One time.
Yeah, in Japan, just cheating on your wife is treated the way like turning out to be a kiddie diddler is treated in the West.
Jesus.
Like they hate Ken Watanabe here because he cheated on his wife.
Wow.
But then again, they also like cancel pop starlets just for having a boyfriend.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
They're more desirable if they're single.
K-pop stuff is the same way, right? It's like you just don't tell anybody.
Yeah, it's all pretty fucked.
I know one of my favorite moment ever on Japanese news, and I've probably mentioned it before, but when the dude from SMAP ran naked through a Tokyo park, and 3 days later they had constructed this giant model of like 3 blocks of Tokyo, like showing like where he went on his naked rampage. So
that sounds great.
I love that they instead of having like CG reconstructions, they have cute little handmade ones on the Japanese news.
Yeah, like there's this like 25-year-old lady who clearly was up last night like crafting this thing with cardboard.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I guess it's charming.
So how do you guys feel about on the scale of child actors, Anneke Wiederkop?
I was actually thinking, I thought all the child acting in this was great, and then it occurred to me, maybe I just think that because they're not speaking English. So I can't tell if they're bad.
I get this is the thing that kind of threw me was that her acting was so like adult like that I thought that we were going to be told that somebody else was molesting her later in the movie. Which did anybody else have that thought.
Well, someone did sexually molest her, which is her brother who fucking showed her hardcore pornography.
Yeah, that is true. But it was like
Theo that is abusing a child.
Okay, Mark, that's there's one scene where she's back with her brother like much later in the movie, and that's the one moment where I thought that something like that might happen, because we've already sort of been that brother just offhandedly destroyed a man's life.
Well, it's sort of a thing is that it's well known that when kids are sexually assaulted that they'll say weird things without really knowing what they're talking about, because it's like trauma that they can't possibly hope to process. But I'm kind of glad there wasn't any actual stuff that made it much more palatable to me.
Beat downs that
it's
you
not
could
like
enjoy.
Once Upon a Time in the West podcast favorite reference, Once Upon a Time in America, where there's just a sexual assault that you watch for no reason,
and then nobody cares really about slowly. It again.
Yeah, this is the opposite of that. It's all Fallout without the sexual assault being thrown in there.
Yeah, maybe I just like Fallout better than I like watching someone get sexually assaulted. Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
Especially when you watch the assault and then there's basically no consequences. I mean, there's other consequences, but not to that.
It's like they were on a date. Just
yeah. If you're going to use something like that, you have to be saying something.
Yeah,
and this is a film that's all saying something.
Yeah.
So I guess the flashpoint. This is what you were saying. At least Luke said everyone in this movie was likable.
I said that was an opinion I'd seen people have.
Oh, okay. Because I wanted to put the headmaster lady, Greta. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to put her a bit under the microscope.
Not everyone in this handles everything well, but I don't think anyone in this film is a villain, is my point.
Yeah, I didn't want to see Greta get beaten to death for saying things like, we're absolutely sure that he did something after a few, a game of telephone with herself.
A guy who wasn't even like a psychiatrist or anything. I think he was just like a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Gave her the most leading questions in history.
But again, it's like I saw that clearly happening, and that made it easier. If I sort of turned around and if I thought that, if it felt like that wasn't at least kind of not earned, but if it didn't feel realistic, then it would have been a lot more enraging. Also, again, I'm not a teacher. So it's like the first time I saw Jaws, it didn't really scare me because I can't swim and I'd never really been in the ocean. And I realized that much later. It was like, oh, it wasn't really that scary because I can't envision myself swimming in the ocean. It's impossible.
I like to swim with the fishies, so I can get it.
Well, you could.
Yeah. Although maybe not when I first saw Jaws, and I haven't seen Jaws in a very long time.
Is Jaws on our list?
I don't think so.
You're talking about
maybe Jaws was on the list and Jurassic Park wasn't, I'd have been furious.
Jaws sequels are on the list. I think
the other list.
4 is on the list.
Not all of them. Yeah.
We I
guess when we do the bad Jaws, we should probably do a good Jaws as a bonus.
Yeah, as a treat. So here's fun trivia: is that Thomas Bo Larson, who played Theo or Teo,
was drunk the whole time.
Yeah, and he kept dropping his fake beard.
You're just growing a beard. Yeah, when I saw the picture of him online with no beard, I was like, what? He definitely changes his face. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't pick up on that he was loaded the whole time, except for the scenes where he was supposed to be loaded, I guess.
It makes sense.
I mean, I got the impression that in this society, everyone is loaded all the time, which is very familiar to me as a Brit.
Okay, that could be the case too. Yeah. So,
I mean, I have friends who are very like off the boat Danish blood. You know them, Alex and his two sisters.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, they like drinks. They like them.
I thought that was more of like, well, there's also the Atlanta party scene would sort of assume that would be the case, but sure, why not?
It's probably part nature, part nurture.
Yeah. Who else do we have here? I don't have the actor names, but there's Marcus, who a pretty good child
name of it. Yeah, he's good too.
Yeah, he was good because what was he, like 15, 16, something like that? maybe a little younger.
I mean, he went hard on this. He's trying to like slap children and fight adults. It was really fun. And also it felt
like
he
what a
didn't feel
teenager
predictable.
would do.
You know, the thing is, he didn't feel predictable as a like child of divorce. He sort of he felt real, like most of these characters, and likable. I was sort of ready for him to just be like a problem, but
yeah, you did.
Well, I was fully expecting him to just turn on his dad.
Yeah,
like that would have been the more predictable way to take this story. But I love that there were characters who stood by him and characters who didn't. And some of the ones you'd expect to stand by him didn't. Some of the ones you expect to turn on him, they didn't.
Even outside that, with the whole divorcee situation, it's like, you know, most movies would be like, oh yeah, his ex-wife is a bitch, you know, and his son either hates one of them, but they make it clear like they've split up, but they're not like screaming at each other too much, you know, like there's gray areas in the relationship in all ways. Like you start feeling a little sorry for the mom whom you never meet, you know.
Well, it's
like the only couple we see fighting are the couple who are together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like you get those, like, this good writing. You get the seeds planted at the beginning. The mom tells him over the phone that Marcus is embarrassed because he's a teacher. And then later you realize Marcus is absolutely not embarrassed of him being a teacher. And that was just something that, you know, it's just something that his ex-wife said, because sometimes people just say things to hurt you. Or just misinterpret stuff. Or maybe Marcus was embarrassed. Who knows? It's
probably she's embarrassed, right? Like,
yeah,
people project things. That's how this whole situation comes about, right?
I had a friend
in the real world, we are the people who love accusing anyone queer of being a groomer are the people most likely to actually do anything to kids.
Oh yeah,
he who smelt it dealt it.
Yep.
Which is one reason why I was interested that there wasn't actually anyone. There was no actual abuse had gone on.
This is sort of
again, the less interesting film would have been like, oh, she's accusing Lucas, but actually, you know, this other character was guilty. But no, it was just she'd heard something rude from her brothers and she used it because she was grumpy.
Well, there's a lot of cases of this in history. I think mostly in the U.S., but I don't know about Europe. But there's the McMartin preschool trial is the best example, where basically kids were just kind of coached. But part of it, one of the people who was the main person driving the whole thing was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. So she was saying that kids told her all sorts of things that were kind of crazy.
That's where the satanic panic started, was it?
Yeah, that's part of the satanic panic. People at daycare had sexual encounters with animals. Peggy drilled a child under the arms, and Ray flew in the air. I'm like, what? Anyway.
That sounds like my late night notes. As in when I'm falling asleep at the computer but still typing notes, which I've done a few times, and I've typed some really bizarre stuff.
Well, make sure not to accuse anybody at your school.
Yeah.
Unless they're actually doing something.
Right.
Which, God, I hope you don't have to deal with that.
I should hope not, but yeah, you never know. But that's the thing in this movie. People do unpredictable things, but nobody's motivation seems like wrong. Everyone's the motivation is clear, even if the actions are sometimes unpredictable, which, gee, that's kind of like life.
Yeah. But yeah, it's especially in the UK, this kind of witch hunting for imagined pedophiles is so rife because we've got such a horrible history of actual pedophiles.
I mean, Jimmy Savile, what
the entire BBC and like ruling class just being in on it for decades has obviously made the country pretty paranoid about that kind of thing.
And you got,
which one was it? Prince Chris or
Prince
something?
Andrew.
Prince Andrew, right? Okay. Call him Chris.
Probably whatever. Prince all of them.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's no it's when people talk about like the QAnon conspiracy, right? About how the elites are all pedophiles who eat children's blood or whatever. And the reason it's so infuriating is because, like, yeah, that's true. It's just not the ones you keep accusing of it.
Yeah, it's not. And the thing is, you know, Pizzagate took place in a basement that didn't exist, but it still happens.
Yeah. Like, the problem is all the people photographed on Epstein's Island are the ones these people like, so they don't want to bring that up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's plenty of photos of Elon Musk with Ghislaine Maxwell.
I think
But they
the
want it to
last
be
5 presidents,
yeah.
probably.
I think
don't want it
everyone's
to be
off of him
him.
by now. Are there still people into Musk?
Oh, he's got his fans. They're fucking infuriating.
Okay.
I think the main difference is just that mainstream media is criticizing him now. Like, that's the main
which is why he's turning further and further towards like all the right-wing conspiracy people, because they're the ones who are going to be like, oh well, if the mainstream media is criticizing you, you must be good, actually.
Yeah, they're the most loyal fan base you can get. You don't even have to do anything that's good at all, and they love you.
You have to hate the people they hate.
But yeah, I'll look at comment sections on blogs that I read, and people will be like, oh, well, whatever, The Verge just has it in for Elon Musk, don't they? It's like, no, they're just reporting things that exist.
Yeah, it must be annoying when facts feel like attacks to your worldview.
God, I hope I never have to deal. I hope I never feel like that.
Well, that's what happens here. People get their mind set, and then some of the actual truths, are unaccepted because no, we've already accepted this as the truth, so we're not changing our mind.
Well, that's why I really love the ending. The ending of this film is like, yeah, everyone has probably accepted that he's telling the truth, but it's not that easy to change how you feel about someone.
Yeah,
like I can like academically or like intellectually be like, oh, he's innocent of that crime, but I'm still looking at this guy who I spent a year in my head, this guy is a child molester. It's not easy to switch off and look at him and be like, oh, that's just that nice guy that I know.
And a village of, what is it, 1,000 or less? What did they say?
I don't remember if they said, but the impression I got was like some of the villages I've lived in, which is like, yeah, 1,000 would be a big town to them.
Okay.
So we're probably talking a couple hundred.
I broke my brain by watching more videos about Svalbard and Longyearbyen last night, so now I just remember the numbers of people living there.
I only know Svalbard from listening to The White Vault.
Okay. Anyway, I think it's 1,000 in Longyearbyen, and then the Russian town 400. Those numbers are stuck in my head, is why I said both of them. Where was I? Anyway, in a town that small, a village, as they say, he did also perpetrate 2 very public beatdowns. And even if they were very fun to watch, and even if they were weirdly
he didn't
justified,
start them.
He didn't. Yeah,
I
but
don't know if it even matters.
He did become a public brawler for a week. I don't know if they care in Denmark.
I think that was just boys having fun.
But I was in the supermarket.
Butcher was like probably brain damaged.
Yeah. Oh God damn, that was a good headbutt. I mean,
good.
My note is just headbutt exclamation point. So it's a holly jolly Christmas plus bleeding head trauma.
Yep. It's a heady buddy Christmas.
But I was like, doesn't he even if he's mildly justified, even if it's boys having fun, there's blood on the ground. Don't they all get arrested at this point? He gets rearrested?
Only if someone presses charges.
Okay.
If it's anything like British law. And like everyone was equally involved as everyone else. No one's going to go to the police. They might not even have a police station in that town. He had to take a taxi back from quite a distance when he got arrested.
Right.
So it's probably the kind of community where they don't go to the police.
Well,
unless it gets this serious, He
also made the public spectacle of throwing the book at someone at a Christmas Eve service. Everybody remembers that. The whole town was there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but yeah,
maybe
if you start to believe he's innocent, then you're going to start to see all of that stuff as justified, right? And you're going to be thinking, man, what a thing he went through.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I'm just saying,
also, it's like
the church beatdown.
The kind of boozing blokes who go hunting culture they seem to have, I don't think they would like let a fight get to them. It reminds me of conversations I've had with my female friends who like they'll tell me stories of when they've fallen out with a friend and it goes on for years or whatever. And it's so hard for me to relate because when me and my friends fell out, we would have a punch up and that would be it. We would never think about it again.
Yeah, my note here is this town should just start a fight club at this point. So Which maybe that is what the boys drinking turns into every night. I don't know. They didn't show us the end of the evening. What they showed what's his name coming home, but I didn't. Thawne. What was his name? But I guess he actually.
Theo.
Theo, thank you. Probably thinking of Alien.
It's not Grand Admiral Thrawn, Matt.
When Grand
not blue
Admiral
enough.
Thrawn showed up and and had the town bow down to him. I like that scene.
Brune, the guy, the nice guy.
Brune had the boxy
Brune.
house. Yeah, he had the boxy house.
Yeah, see, that was another you were mentioning, Mark. Like, if this film had been made sort of more during, like, quote unquote cancel culture era, I think that character would have been like, where Mads accidentally discovers, like, oh, the only people who like me now are these weird right wing guys. But it didn't go down that road. He was just nice.
Yeah, that was.
It's like there's the latter season BoJack Horseman, right, where he's got himself into trouble and suddenly he can only be friends with Mel Gibson.
I guess the interesting thing is nobody in this movie has like a real plot twist secret, which is kind of like we're not used to seeing that because that's basically like a unbreakable tenet of
we're not used to films being written. Well, okay, are either of you actually familiar with like Scandinavian drama? There was
I've seen a few Swedish films. That's all I could go with.
Yeah,
there was
dirty ones.
There was like a big, not so much in cinema, I think more on TV. There was a big resurgence of it in the last few years with all these like crime dramas. But I haven't watched any of it. But the impression I've got is that it's beloved because it's very, very real and naturalistic. And this is a very good example of very real writing.
I started
check that out.
Yeah, that could be a thing. But we're definitely from people that have Hollywood movies, shoved in their gullet all the time. I mean, you can't make a Marvel film without 8 mind-blowing secret plot twists.
If this was a Marvel film and it was just about like Captain America getting accused of molesting a kid, this would be the best Marvel film by 100,000,000%.
Why is Captain America teaching kindergartners now?
He probably goes and speaks to schools.
Yeah, that's all
it is.
What
Cap does.
Okay.
It's easy.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess the Winter Soldier was sort of about him being accused of molesting America or something. I don't remember.
Sometimes America needs to be molested. Yeah, that's. I guess someone's going to take that.
Yeah, we're going to isolate that.
Would Civil War be better if Cap just like headbutted Iron Man in the middle of a supermarket?
Yes.
I knew the answer. I just wanted to ask it anyway.
But that's why you got such an emphatic answer, because everyone knows the answer loudly.
I mean, I don't remember who did it, but the best thing in that entire movie to me was towards the end when somebody just basically did like a backbreaker on somebody wearing armor and broke their armor.
It was the Winter Soldier did it too, Iron Man.
Yeah, super sick.
I'm doing it on my weird things where I'm revisiting the Marvel movies, not by watching them for the most part, but by listening to commentaries of them and just going by what I remember.
Listen to Marvel Calls.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Marvel Calls is James and David, who both were on the Sci-Fi Sanctuary. Dave had never seen any of the Marvel movies, and then he watched them with James.
Right, following up the Star Calls. So
following up Star Calls.
The thing for me is that the last one I watched in the theater was Ant-Man Quantumania, which I thought was okay.
I haven't seen that or the Marvels yet.
Well, this is the thing.
I went and saw the Marvels.
Later, I randomly rewatched the first Ant-Man, and it was shocking to me how much better it was than the recent one. I was like, what happened? How did I not notice these get so much worse? That wasn't even one of my favorite Marvel movies, but it was so obvious how much better it was than what they're doing now.
We're going to get into the thick of this next year with Infinity War and Endgame, which is a weird nexus of film now. Because, the last one I saw in the theater was Doctor Strange, I guess. I don't think I've seen one since then.
I liked Infinity War.
Oh, no, I watched Guardians. Guardians was like actually good.
Oh, I saw Guardians.
Yeah, that was good.
I kind of separate that out from Modern Marvel because it just felt like the end of that trilogy.
Oh, and I think I mentioned my Guardians. Unfortunately, I saw it after work,
and you like fell asleep for an hour of it, right?
For the climax. So I just saw a movie about very depressed people dealing with their problems, and then the end they melancholically fly off into space. That's the movie I saw. Which actually I guess is the movie. I mean, again, it's a Marvel movie. The climax doesn't even matter, so I got it. With what I saw, I just didn't see the explosions. They rocked me to sleep.
I liked that a lot because as the end of a trilogy, it didn't do any cheap death scenes, and it was just about, you know what, we're just going to retire. And I think making the final film of a series just about retirement is pretty cool. I know I've said that.
That's what you said about
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story, right? Yeah.
That's why nobody's watching.
But there's there's Toy Story 5 and 6 coming.
Like the fantasy used to be a noble death, and now the fantasy is getting to retire it all.
Yeah, I know which one's more realistic. So
yeah.
Excuse me, my Guardian snap was because I walked 40 kilometers and then watched it at the late show.
Oh, that never stops me.
Well, I didn't stop me, but I took a little nap.
Yeah. No, the only time I take a nap in the theater is when I try and watch a film in Japanese, and I just can't keep up with trying to listen for that long, and eventually it just becomes background noise.
You stayed up for Godzilla -1, though, right?
I watched all of Godzilla -1 twice.
I don't know how to sleep through that. That would be.
Oh, it's impossible.
Difficult.
Yeah.
I don't have the cojones to do Luke's going and just watching a Japanese thing, so I still haven't seen.
You could do it with that. It's pretty basic. In terms of plot, you can get it from when they're screaming and when they're happy. It's
that's a super dramatic film. So yeah, you can tell when someone's not upset or what they're feeling.
But what a fucking kamikaze pilot looks like. It's not complicated.
Mm-hmm. And Godzilla doesn't even talk, so you don't even have to worry about that part.
He just says "screonk."
Sooner or later, it's gonna happen. Sooner or later, Godzilla is gonna be like,
Godzilla's already
called bitches.
Yeah, that's gonna be like that. Like when the Predator says "motherfucker" in Predator 2, it's gonna be like that.
Godzilla's son talked in one of the old ones.
Right.
And he told you things that Godzilla had told him, but Godzilla didn't directly talk on screen. King Kong talks with sign language.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man. I want them to give King Kong just a collar that translates to words, but it's just really loud.
Just give him a Planet of the Apes moment. I mean the newer ones where Caesar finally talks. And do that with King Kong.
Yeah, that was incredible. That was one of the best things from any Planet of the Apes movie ever.
I know.
I remember it being in the theater, just being like, no, just yelling no.
You were screaming no? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Next year is Ape Year 2024. Because we've got new Planet of the Apes movie, new King Kong movie, and the Donkey Kong Land opens at USJ.
Oh boy.
So yeah, maybe
it's gonna be a big year for ape fans.
Right.
Do you think there's gonna be a new Donkey Kong game? Feels like
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, it's about time. At the very least, I put Donkey Kong 64 on the Switch, which, as I understand it, is an insane collectathon, but I still want to play it.
I've never played that one at all. I've only played the Super Nintendo ones, and I haven't played Tropical Freeze because it's always $40. And I was just like,
oh, it's a banger, though. It's a banger.
Yeah, I might just pirate it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. I see you're playing a lot of Super Mario Wonder. Are you enjoying that?
I'm literally playing right now.
Oh, okay.
What's on your t-shirt there? What is on your
this is from Splatoon. It's one of the t-shirts you can get.
Oh, okay. I only saw the top 3 pixels, so just for a moment I was wondering if that was some Mario there, because it looks like a little bit like a fire flower on our screen.
Listeners, if you think it's rude that I play video games during podcasts, you should donate more to the Patreon so I take it more seriously.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, if you don't, I'm gonna start playing video games too.
That's it.
I have to hold this microphone, so I can't really do much with the video games.
I'm always ADHD switching between a million tabs on my browser, which is a game.
I think I focus more on the conversation if I'm doing this. It's like totally I have to doodle during meetings at work, or I cannot listen.
Gotcha.
I was showing Mercy my old notebooks the other day, and she was just like, "The fuck is this?" And it's like all these disgusting little goblins that I've drawn.
That's what my high school and university notebooks look like. So I have some work ones. Oh no, did I grow out of it? No, I just stopped taking notes. No, I do have some work ones where I did that. I think I have to.
No, now you just sit in the corner and literally play on your iPad.
No, I use the iPads for the meeting. Yeah.
Sure.
Where were we?
I wonder why it's always pointed at the ceiling and I can't see any of your faces.
Hey, it always starts on me, but then I have to turn it so everybody can see it.
So this film won a shitload of awards. It's 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
So higher than this.
Only 77 on Metacritic, though, which I found interesting. Because that's not, I mean, that's high, but it's not like crazy high.
The Metacritic. Oh no, that will be specifically the critics part, won't it? That won't be the.
I think so.
Like they separate out critics and user reviews, because I can definitely imagine this not doing so well in like pure user rate. Although this IMDb rating is pure users, right? So
yeah,
I mean, if like right-wing people are watching it, they're probably very mad. Look at what they did to that guy. Maybe they're happy about it. I don't know. That's a good question.
I think they would see it as like representation of something they think happens, right? Because right-wingers love to talk about all the false accusations, even though the percentage. I mean, I'm talking with adults at least. Like the rate of people being falsely accused of rape compared to the rate of women actually being raped is like.
It's
not even
incredibly slim.
Right?
Yeah, it's incredibly slim. That's kind of that brings me to how
which is why I was worried about this film when I first read the synopsis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is definitely.
It would be
do I want to watch that?
Yeah, if it had been handled differently, again, it would have felt terrible, because I know a lot more people who have told me about getting sexually assaulted than I know people who have been, falsely accused and had it done. I know people have been falsely accused and it didn't really do anything. Like,
well, that's it.
Probably weren't going after
because
small
most
children,
cases,
I hope.
Most cases where it does happen, nothing happens to the perpetrator, right?
I worked with a guy who definitely did, and he definitely went to jail forever. But that was like they had video evidence. Like that's how bad it was.
That's the level of evidence you need, right? In these kind of
yeah,
cases,
that's
it's really hard. It's really hard to get convictions on these kind of crimes because it does turn into he said, she said.
Well, there is everyone assumes that children don't lie about things like this, which I mean, what did Mark, you have an answer to a question I haven't asked, so go for it.
I'm sorry, I was going to specifically ask you guys a question, like, how do you feel about the idea that children wouldn't lie?
Children lie all the fucking time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It feels
children love to lie. Children lie for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, and they do that thing where if you try to call them on it, they just stare and like, I don't know. It's maybe just a product of a friendly small village where.
But what I like about this film, like it didn't really make the child. I didn't hate, like Mads didn't hate the child for what she did. He understood.
Yeah, he didn't hate her, and I felt like the film itself didn't hate her. It wasn't
because just Marcus,
but catharsis.
The thing right-wing douchebags bring up is like, oh, you're innocent until proven guilty, which they apply to rapists, but they never apply to rape victims. And like, if he's innocent of being a rapist, she's innocent of making it up to get fame and fortune as well. Whereas it's almost like the man is innocent until proven guilty, but the woman is guilty and she can prove him guilty.
Yeah.
Which this film, again, doesn't really do. Like, no one, even after it turns out he hadn't done it and everyone believes him, he still forgives her because he understands that she's just a little kid who said something silly.
And keep in mind, the law very quickly realizes that there's nothing going on here. He's only in jail like one night.
Yeah.
And then the arraignment, they basically toss out of court because, it's like, the basement in the Alamo if you're a Pee Wee Herman fan. So
this really seems like a case.
The basement ping pong. The basement in Comet Ping Pong.
I think this is really a case where we don't really understand how like light a touch the police is in Denmark or wherever.
Yeah. I think because the UK compared to America, it's a lot lighter. And then I think Denmark is that far again. It's like the whole thing of what Americans consider left wing is considered right wing in every other country.
Yeah, of course. It's like, you can't run for president and say, even now with it kind of gaining momentum, you probably couldn't run for president and say, I'm going to get rid of private prisons and defund the police. They would just be career suicide. Hopefully that won't always be the case, but
so I wanted to go back a few minutes when you were asking about how people feel about this movie now and how it's evolving, which if our list that we talk about, if people don't know, basically I froze on my birthday, March 2nd, 2023, at which point this was 89. Apparently it has slipped a little bit in popularity. It's got the little red down thing, and it's now 95 as we're recording it. So there might be a few movies this year. No,
it's 95 on the list. I thought you meant 8.9 to 9.5.
No. It's actually the same rating. My guess is there's a couple, winners this year that have maybe eked up above it, is probably what happened. But it's not a movie that's just going to stay.
But also, the list is decided by like the third decimal point sometimes.
Right, exactly. So it bounces around. But in case everyone's wondering where these numbers come from, it's a list I froze from IMDb on my birthday. So so it is currently in a slightly different place. And I imagine, it's while it is a very good movie, it's the kind of movie that eventually would kind of drift off, I think. Would it?
Well, I think it's not because of the quality or anything, but just because of the profile. I hadn't heard of this film until it came up on the list. Right, so I wouldn't imagine it's not getting watched that often. So it's not like it's going to be getting reappraisals and new reviews to move it up higher.
Yeah, I never heard of this, and this is pretty much obviously I love this movie, and this is something that I'm glad the list gave to me, but I'd never heard of it at all before.
Well, in terms of votes, just to put in perspective, Avengers Endgame has had 1.2 million votes, whereas this one has had 355,000. Yeah, so
that's actually pretty high, though.
That is pretty high. Yeah, so people have seen it, but it's certainly not one. Unless maybe in Denmark it is. It's not one that's really in the cultural.
Well, I think it made some waves when it came out because it was like nominated for best foreign language picture and stuff.
Yeah, it was at international.
And it won best picture at Cannes, I think. No, he won best actor. Yeah,
it's got some Mads power too.
Yeah, because 38 people like him. Wins, 73 nominations.
Yeah,
okay, it's a lot.
But I don't think anyone's talked about it in the intervening 11 years. And perhaps, as Mark and me have both brought up a couple of times, I think it's what it does hits differently now than it probably did in 2012. And I think but I actually think it having such a light touch is really to its credit. And it's better than anything that would probably get made today.
Yeah, in terms of the question, is it film, is it filth? Sometimes like to say, well, the subject matter is filthy, but it actually isn't. The filthiest thing in this movie is the beatdowns, and those were the parts that were the most fun to watch.
Oh, see, when the brother's friend shows the little sister the porn, that there was a fully erect penis on that iPad screen. I don't think you could show that on like a rated film in the UK.
Did we actually see the image?
I didn't notice it. Well,
okay, we did see that guy
watching this
right at the start.
I was watching this on like archive.org.
Huh.
Because there's no way I would have been able to legally watch this film in Japan, because the best case scenario would have been in Swedish with Japanese subtitles or Danish, whatever.
Yeah, you would have got Nadia's occasional English, but
yeah. But so in the UK you can show a penis, but you can't show an erect penis.
I think
but maybe it's different in a still image. I don't know.
I feel like you can show an erect penis in the US, but I could be wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
I remember infamously South Park, the movie, had a dildo and they wanted them to cut the dildo, so they replaced it with an actual penis, and that got through.
Okay, you can stand behind that schlong. But yeah, I don't remember seeing the iPad image. If we saw it, just the dudes hopping into the lake at the beginning, where you did get the.
Well, where did you watch this, Matt?
Like a Blu-ray download thing.
Then yeah, maybe you were watching an American cut that did cut the image. That's what I'm asking.
That might be the case. But
I watched on Amazon.
Okay.
No, so yeah, when they're showing did you see what was on the iPad screen, Mark?
I didn't notice, so maybe I didn't.
Yeah, whereas I saw like it's a woman looking at a big erect penis.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't get that. So yeah.
So yeah, that might have been cut slightly.
I watched the Puritan cut. So mine was slightly mine really didn't have any filth. Just Luke's version had that touch of filth.
Circumcised
the
cut.
filthy touch. The circumcised cut.
That'll be our tagline when we get more popular and need to advertise. We got the filthy touch.
I want to get a gym t-shirt that says I'm so cut, I'm circumcised.
Sure. I am currently bringing up bad reviews for this one. I don't know.
I can imagine there are some.
There have to be.
Oh, there has to be. I mean, there's certainly people that would not like the light touch. Here we go. There's a few.
Yeah, the debate I saw was like some people saying how like it does a good job of making every character relatable, and then other people being like, no, I fucking hate everyone in this village.
Okay, here's one that at least seems to have like points they're making as opposed to just I'm bored, which is The Hunt, poorly written abuse apologia. The Hunt reads like abuse apologia because the story does not have people reacting in a realistic way to sexual abuse. What is far more likely to happen, indeed what happens constantly in our culture, is people excusing child abuse because they are close to and like the abuser, and saying a child is confused lying because it's easier and because obtaining proof is nearly impossible. All the kids suddenly turning on their teacher because children lie, even though we see that there are manipulations in place for Clara to arrive at the conclusion she does. That makes no sense for the other kids. This is chalked up to hysteria, but it is not explained and doesn't follow the movie's own logic for how a child may be manipulated or how parents might ignore what a child is actually saying. That's the crux of it, I think. So,
well,
here's I don't agree with what I just read, but they a little later down. I said I was going to stop, but they do make a point. A more realistic angle would have been to have Clara's brother to be an abuser, which he kind of is if we go with the picture.
He is by legal definition, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, but he doesn't actually, do anything like physical, because there is that scene where I said I thought that might happen, which I guess this person did too. Otherwise, though, it's like the opposite of what we've been saying. We've been talking about how the reactions are so realistic and naturalistic, and they're like, nah, this is all not what people do. But I think it's not what people do in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something which is very real, but I haven't seen depicted before.
Yeah, it definitely feels different for a
movie.
Like
there was a case in the UK where a pediatrician's house got like its window smashed in because people misunderstood the word.
Oh my God.
Like, well, I'm thinking, like, what would be something else that was considered this naturalistic? And I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird, which is still very stagey. I mean, great movie, but stagey and, old Hollywood, right?
Well, No Country for Old Men, probably There Will Be Blood, even though both of those movies are kind of absurd.
There Will Be Blood's really stylized, though, which this one has, like, no stylized. I mean, it's well made, but it doesn't have stylization. Where There Will Be Blood is all stylization. That's why I like it.
Well, yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of
No Country would be closer. I mean, it's got some stylization, but it is a little closer to like a Euro film vibe, I guess. Well, the Scandinavian, I guess, because if we're talking Italian films, obviously they get freaking weird.
I don't know, 400 Blows.
What, like French New Wave?
Yeah. That's pretty natural. That's just people chilling.
Yeah. Am I French horrible if I'm just like French New Wave films are usually boring as shit?
I mean, no, because it's not on the list.
I think anything that doesn't have a dinosaur in it is boring as shit. So like,
I think
I'm glad I watched this film. I ain't watching it. I will watch Jurassic Park 20 times before I come close to watching this again.
I do think Lucas, during the supermarket scene, Lucas was almost a dinosaur. It's pretty close.
Lucas the dinosaur, yeah. No, I'm just thinking like French New Wave because I watched a bunch on university as one does, and I think I remembered liking Shoot the Piano Player, and I was really entertained by like how ponderous and weird Alphaville is, and that was about it.
Well,
I'm not saying those films
none
are
of that
bad.
stuff
I'm just
is
saying I
on.
don't
I've
want to
watched
watch
a
them.
lot. I guess I've watched naturalistic comedies. Like a lot of British stuff is shot that way. Sort of post
Judd Apatow's stuff is almost
see
like
that.
that, except Judd Apatow's stuff is kind of insufferable sometimes, but it is realistic people being realistic because a lot of it's improvised.
Well, but then as the years have gone by and it became more of its like kind of, you know, just its own little cottage industry, it maybe lost a lot of that because now it's just the Apatow thing, you know.
I did not like Trainwreck.
I
It
don't
was
know.
partly that was like slut shaming the movie, basically.
Okay, as Luke and I have mentioned, you know, living in Japan, we come across very few comedies. So, and Luke and I are convinced they don't make comedies anymore, which actually seems to be kind of the case anyway. But
well, I mean, Weird was. Didn't you say you didn't see that?
oh, I saw Weird.
Matt's seen it. I've got it on my computer.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet. I
Oh,
definitely intend to. Don't worry.
Weird.
Classic.
Yeah, Weird's great.
For the moment, we're watching Christmas movies, so we watched Elf and Die Hard this weekend. Neither of which Mercy had seen.
And The Hunt.
Wow.
Your new Christmas movie.
What did you think of Die Hard?
Oh my! I love watching Die Hard with her because she's so not film literate in the way we are that she's like, he's gonna die, he's not gonna make it, and I'm like,
yes,
Mercy, it's an hour into film. John McClane's not gonna suddenly die.
He's got 4 sequels to show up in.
But that movie is the perfect movie to go in blind because it's it's just super tense.
And then she's like, his wife's gonna die. Is his wife gonna die? I hope not. This is a Christmas movie.
Well, if you're really into Alan Rickman, is Rickman gonna die? Is Rickman gonna die? And then Rickman dies.
She was excited when she finally recognized Alan Rickman.
Well, also, I mean, Alan Rickman really thought he was going to die because there was the whole thing where
they didn't tell him when they were going to drop him. So that facial reaction is great.
That's what Dr. Doom does with his fear fall.
Oh God, yeah, that was terrifying. It was great, but it was very. I talked to my friends who were afraid of drop rides into going on that, and
isn't it
felt
more of
bad.
a thrust ride? Like Dr. Doom is gently thrusting you.
It's scarier than a drop ride because when you're launched straight up, you feel like you might not actually reach the top. You feel like you might just keep going, like your mammal brain. Yeah. When you're dropping, you're like, at least you might just die and end. You know?
You're not just gonna fly off into space. Well, you'll die that way too, because they don't have air in space.
Yeah, of course. But you know, that's a long time of suffering if it somehow was just a ride that was several hundreds of miles tall.
Anyway, I don't know why I brought it up because I've never been on Dr. Doom's free fall. So
now you should go. It's got a great pre-show, possibly the best I've ever seen because it's just a wacky cartoon like thing about how you should sacrifice your life for what's that?
Latveria?
Yeah, Latveria. Okay. I almost said Transylvania. Like
no. I've heard good
country.
things. That's why I'm bringing it up.
What about Latveria? Yeah. That's because they're not allowed to print the bad things.
You know what I bet Latveria has? I bet you can show an erect penis in a movie there.
As I understand it, citizens of Latveria, for the most part, love living in Latveria.
I mean, if that was my president, if Dr. Doom was my president or king or whatever, yeah.
Man, he's better than like all the prime ministers Britain has had in my lifetime.
Yeah, same presidents.
You'd kneel before Doom.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm almost about to kneel to him, with him not even be real.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it's real.
I think I prefer Doom to Reed Richards.
Yeah, of course. He's a lot more fun.
I like that tweet that's like, if the Avengers were real, we'd all fucking hate them.
For sure. I'd
like the X-Men if they were real.
Yeah, well, most of them are some of them. There are 300 million of them, so you got to pick your favorites, I guess.
As an institution, I would approve of the X-Men.
Okay. I guess we'll wrap this one up then. And does anyone have a final word? Just one word. You get one word.
Penis.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Fanny.
I just wanted to. Oh yeah, Fanny. I was gonna say it was sad that the dog died, but it was there was a dog was named Fanny.
Yeah. there was certainly a wrong done in that little bit. So
yeah, that was sad, but also the dog was the British word for vagina, which is funny.
Oh, also, was there some preamble to Lucas and Nadia's relationship, or did they just like go straight? They go straight to home run there.
I think they just
we saw them interacting at the the school, and they seem to be
okay. I guess
have a nice relationship.
I mean, I don't know about you guys.
He wasn't his
that
20s.
felt realistic to me as somebody who is definitely.
Well, I'm not saying that might not happen twice. I guess usually in a movie there's like a little more build up. You know, you take her to dinner first, have a nice date, and then they skip that. Okay, that has been skipped in the past. Yeah. It's the
they don't have time. They
This
have to get to the breakup
way.
as quickly as possible.
Right. Okay. Then I guess
did you guys, the version you guys watch whenever she spoke in English, the subtitles were just in all caps?
I had no.
I had no subs when she spoke English.
Yeah,
it was really annoying.
Okay.
Thanks, Amazon.
She's just screaming at everybody.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, bye.
Bye.
He just ended it.
You can find us.
He's gone. He probably has to go somewhere. Go ahead, Mark. You can do that.
You can find us, some of us, at patreon.com/podcastiopodcastius. Throw us money server bills. Find stuff. Find other podcasts such as Podcast 1999 about Space 1999, Lucas Pokemon, Hyrule Field Report, Occult Disney, Time Enough podcast. Find it all.
Okay, there you go. Did you even know what you were saying?
I did not. I was just trying to get to the breakup as fast as possible.
Okay.